Good evening, Lester. As crews clean up the mess, fears are growing here about just what that sludge contains. The potential for cancer-causing agents and toxic substances has residents here wondering.
Just look at all that. Those right there, those are towers that wash the coal. It kind of purifies it. And just check out how much steam is coming out of that tower right there. That's crazy. What's up, you guys? Chet-Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all from the outskirts of the Kingston fossil plant here in Harriman, Tennessee. The reason why we are out here today is because we are going to be looking back on what is perhaps one of the worst man-made disasters in United States history. And of course, the accident that I am talking about today is the Kingston coal ash spill that occurred December 22nd, 2008. Now, I do want to tell you all a little bit about the information of the Kingston fossil plant. This fossil plant was commissioned in 1951 and it was completed in 1955. This giant plant here, it provided all the power necessary that Oak Ridge Natural Laboratories needed to conduct their own experiments, like with radiation, uranium. So this plant provides a lot of power. On top of that, a lot of interesting history behind it. It also provides about 5 million kilowatts to Oak Ridge National Labs, to give you an idea on how much power this fossil plant puts out. Now we are going to talk about this accident in great detail, what exactly happened, what caused it, and the damages that are still taking place to this day, almost the better part of about 15 years later. You guys, I like to refer to this accident as Tennessee's Chernobyl. In order to start this story, we must go all the way back to the weather factors that affected this great tragedy. For about 3 weeks prior to this big tragedy happening, it had rained about 6.5 inches. It rained non-stop for 3 weeks straight here in the state of Tennessee. At many times during this heavy raining, a lot of the temperatures through this area were below freezing at times, and some people believe that is what contributed to an earthen dike right next to the Emory River and the Clinch River to cause it to burst and spew out close to 1.1 billion gallons of a substance called slurry. Now, what slurry is it is a mix between coal ash and water. And what TVA would do with this fossil plant is, when they were done burning off the coal, they would pretty much pour this dirty waste into these ponds. After they would wait for the water to spill through, they would let all the impurities come out of it, and there they would drain the ponds, they would dredge them, and they would take this this sludge to somewhere such as to be properly disposed of. Well, just after midnight on December 22nd, one of these retention ponds would finally give out. Now, the initial damage that was caused from this dike to break, 12 houses were destroyed in the process, and about 42 were very badly damaged. It also destroyed a gas line, water main, and it covered a train track that went through the city. Now, out of the housing that was destroyed and the families that were harmed, by the way, some of these houses were covered in as much as 6 feet of coal ash slurry. A lot of that slurry wound up here in the Clinch River and the Emory River. Now, it did kill millions of fish, and from a nature standpoint, the Tennessee Ornithological Society, they have still deemed this area a non-birding spot because they do not know how long this ecological disaster will affect the bird species in this area. Now, after the spill happened, TVA, they were in a rush to get this cleaned up. Now, at the start of all this, they were planning to do it themselves. It would have cost several $1,000,000 for them to do it. However, they ended up contracting out a group known as Jacobs Engineering. Now, Jacobs Engineering, they were given the task of cleaning out this big giant sludge field that had damaged these homes, that had damaged these properties. And in some locations in these spots, to give some reference of how deep all this was, is the amount of coal ash slurry that had come out of that retaining pond. You could cover a football field about 2,500 times over with the amount of slurry that came out of that pond. As these contractors were cleaning up all this slurry and this sludge, many of the men began complaining of certain ailments. Some had swollen feet, others had trouble breathing, a lot of them had body aches. Now, this mysterious disease, or I should say this mysterious malaise, however you want to call it, many of the men who were working here dubbed this the slurry ash flu. In fact, some men were just absolutely getting sick in this area and they couldn't work in the spot anymore. However, strangely enough, the foreman on this project, one employee recalls that one of these foremen said that you could eat as much as 2 pounds of this slurry and it would not make you sick. Or at least that's what they thought. I believe it was Appalachian State University in 2017. They did a study in this spot. They tested the levels on some of the contaminants in this area that had come from the slurry, the breaking of the dike. Some of them recorded arsenic, some recorded mercury and other toxic chemicals. But the one thing about the arsenic that they picked up on was 149 times more lethal than the recommended dosage from the FDA. And on top of that, about 177 families in this area, about 40% of them complained of the exact same problems that these contractors were experiencing: achy joints, swollen feet, trouble breathing, all of that because of this mysterious disease, this mysterious ailment that the supposed harmless slurry was causing. Now, of course, that has all changed. As of about 2017, 30 people have died as a result of this giant disaster that happened, Tennessee's Chernobyl. Over 200 families in 2017 had cancers, lung diseases, skin detriments that were caused because of living in this nearby area that the coal and ash spill had caused. To this day, a lot of people say that this disaster will harm generations to come. They really don't know how bad it will affect the generations to come. And another thing too, I want to note just how this water is spewing out of this this spot right here. This slurry that was in the water was spilling over into the Tennessee River. Some places it was coming all the way into Alabama, to give you a reference on how bad this accident was. But anyway, guys, that's going to be my vlog. I felt like I had to come here and tell you all about this environmental disaster. An environmental disaster that I call Tennessee's Chernobyl. To this day, it still affects families. It still affects those in the nearby area. And quite honestly, it's going to be a while before probably nature in this entire area goes back to being normal. But anyway, guys, remember, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Always means a lot. Goes to show that y'all care, that y'all want to see more awesome content. So without further ado, you guys, vlog over.